Hi, I'm Livia. I did my Bachelor and my Master at the University of Liechtenstein. And right now I'm actually doing a PhD also at the university and teaching. And I'm working as an architect in Switzerland. So in general, in the Master, you're way more able to choose whatever you like to do and where you have your biggest interest in. That means compared to the Bachelor, you're more free. So you can take a deep dive into craft or urban topics or sustainability. So that was a big change. Here at the university, it's a very small university. That means that you also have a very direct contact with the professors. So I think that's also what is very different to big universities. Because of this direct contact, you really have a one-to-one experience and you get to know the professors very well. And it can go so far that they also give you jobs because most of them have an office, or you get good tips. Or in my case, I'm doing a PhD now at the uni. Actually, a professor asked me to do a PhD with him. So I think I really had a lot of opportunities because the university is so small and everyone knows each other. Also, the teachers have a lot of different backgrounds, so they themselves also have a big network where they will help you if you need someone from the outside who is not working at the uni. They know a lot of people out there. Basically, my whole network, I created it from the uni and then expanded it myself, of course, but as a starting point, this is very nice here. I think for me, one project that stood out most was the building of the model workshop, which for all of you who don't know what the model workshop is, it's a building where our workshop is in, where we can build models. And this building didn't exist, and then they put up a design studio where we had 1 semester of time to design and to build the house with our own hands. And that was, for me, very impactful because normally when you're an architecture student, you have a lot of tasks, but they're all theoretical. So you design a lot of things, but they will never be built and it all just stays on the paper, let's say like that. And with this model workshop, we were finally able to actually build something that we designed. And we were a team of 10 students. We had, in the beginning of the semester, we had some time to do a design and to build some prototypes. But then it was really like designing and building all the time. So whatever you were drawing, you had to build the next day, basically. And that was, for me, a very nice experience. I still remember when we put up all the structural system, which is out of wood, and it was standing there. And the first time I walked through it was just a very nice feeling. At our university in general, sustainability is like a focus that we have over all studies, so Bachelor, Master, and the PhD, and also the research in general. So it's a big topic which actually occurs in almost every class we have. So before I started to work, I already had heard a lot about sustainable materials, circularity, like using resources in a sustainable way. And of course, all of this has a big impact, even if you don't realize it at the moment. Okay, so the Master helped me to balance creativity and the technical side of architecture in a way that those are two topics we always have to balance in architecture. And in the Master, you even go deeper. That means that the design studios, they are, let's say, more conceptual than in the Bachelor, but at the same time, you also have to produce more technical details because you have more knowledge, and that's what the teacher also wants from you to make it a whole project. So I think in every design studio you have this balance. The RIBA is an accreditation institute that actually looks at thousands of unis every year, and when they came here 2 times already, they were always very surprised, positively surprised of our workspace and of our programs. And they really like, for example, the atelier, which is the place where all of our students sits together. So from the Bachelor all the way to the Master, we have a really big room with different levels where we can where each students get their own table where they can work the whole semester. And they all grouped together in a studio. And what is very nice about that is that you then, as a student, you can always see what is the Master student doing, what are the Bachelors doing, and you can learn from each other. And also for the RIBA, this is something very outstanding, and it's not so normal because mostly in bigger universities, not all the students fit in one room, but here we do, and we really take advantage of this. then another nice thing for me was that I was able to go on an exchange to Norway. Here, the nice thing about the university is that we have a lot of partner universities. And if you're a student, you're most probably granted a spot wherever you want to go, because we're a really small university and we have a lot of spots available, and there's not like a big run on these spots. So I was able to go to Norway, and that was a very nice experience to also see a different university. And then if I look at the master here in general again, for me, myself, it actually influenced me a lot because, as I've already mentioned, the master thesis is very free and we're allowed to choose our own topic, and then we also have a research semester. And before that, I'd never actually worked so scientifically for such a long period of time. And when I did that, I realized, like, firstly, I really like it to work scientifically and read a lot and research. And also, it came easy to me. And I think just because of that, I actually later on started to think about doing a PhD. So this was a very direct connection to the master thesis. And then on the other side, during my studies, I had a lot of studios that were dealing with wood and very technical design studios, also dealing with like alpine architecture and landscapes. And when I chose my office, where I then started to work as an architect, I actually also chose an office that was in Switzerland in a very alpine region, because I really wanted to then also build houses or any architectural objects in this alpine region, which I had already I had got the chance to dive in during my master's. So I applied the content of my master's studies, especially in one of my favorite projects so far, because I'm not so old, so I haven't done that many projects. But I was able to design a renovation of a wooden house, which was from the 80s, so not so old, but also not very new. And this house was actually set on 1,800 meters, so pretty high, where you have a lot of different demands than if you built something like on lower heights. And what was very special there was that it was a 40-year-old wooden structure, and we had to insulate it because there was actually no insulation. And then the other thing was, and I think that's the biggest impact from my master and from the design part, was that it had a lot of small, very small rooms. And the task for the client was to make it more flowy and more open. And I think that's something that we really work with in the master, or in general in the architecture studies a lot. How to improve a setting that is maybe already given. How can we work with houses that exist rather than always build new houses? So the renovation project was very interesting for me, and also to see the before and the after, and to realize what you can do. If you're interested to study here at the university in the master degree, you can for sure benefit from a very small university with a lot of knowledge. We do have 5 different majors. You can actually do a major in your master. So if you're for example, if you're very interested in sustainability, or if you're very interested in craft, you can deep dive more and have a focus on that, and you will get a major next to your Master of Architecture. So that's very interesting. And then if you want to start here, you have to be aware that it's a university where we do put a focus on the technical side, but we also have a very strong design part. So for us, it's always a mixture of that. Also, the presence of material here is very high, which I think is very valuable as an architect, to know a lot about different materials. But at the same time, we also have this cultural heritage where we are, so the Alpine region, and we always want to do projects which are very connected to the context. I think that's very important. And that's also something you can learn if you come here, because we have this special setting within or in the middle of the mountains. So if you plan to do your master here, I would really like to see you, because I'm actually doing my PhD now here and I teach, and we would for sure see each other on the hallway. So see you soon.